Welcome back to the Travel Coach Network podcast. It is I, Sahar Rose DeVore, the founder of the Travel Coach Network and the creator and instructor of the Travel Coach Certification Program. Today, we're talking about whether travel agencies are scams. All right, I already can feel the energy. I already know I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but hear me out. Let me begin by saying that I do not believe that travel agencies are scams, but there are some things that do make me question the industry that I will be covering in this episode. First off, I do not think that being a travel agent is a bad thing by any means, or for you who is listening or reading this, if you're a travel agent, that you're doing anything wrong. I'm simply sharing research and news of what I find and in my own experiences and what I hear from others that's already out there and adding to what I've realized by someone I'm very involved with the travel industry, the hospitality industry, and I run a global network of certified travel coaches and professionals. So this is just my opinions based on what I've realized or noticed over the industry over the years. With that said, I also understand and agree that there are some times when travel agents are definitely helpful. For example, if you're planning a special trip like a really big family vacation or something like a honeymoon or a wedding, special events, absolutely. Or if there is something that you need in particular, maybe you're traveling with a disability and you know that the travel agent can really help you find more accessible routes for yourself. I also know that travel agents have access to special deals and discounts, which could be very beneficial too. I totally get it. There are several perks to working with a travel agent. And again, I reiterate, I'm not against the travel agent industry. I'm just simply giving a new perspective on how it could be evolving. But an industry like tourism that tells people that they can become an expert in something with little to no experience makes me question everything around their sales strategies. I mean, what other industry out there is more personal than the tourism industry, right? We travel for very meaningful reasons, and it's a very personal industry. You don't need to travel to over 84 countries like I have myself, but you should have some built up passion and skills or expertise in travel versus taking a course to learn how to sell travel. There's a disconnect between the passion and the sales. In order to just know how powerful travel can be on our mind, bodies, and souls, it takes a lot more of a personal passion and experiences in that in order to have that convey into your sales. And again, I know this is going to ruffle many people's feathers. You have probably worked so hard for so long in an industry that you love so much, but the travel career industry has told you for so long that this is the only career that you could have if you love travel. If you love travel, then you must be a travel agent and you must plan and book trips. I know because I have gotten this for so long. I studied hospitality and tourism management in university. I graduated in 2010. I started backpacking from 2010 through for the next 10 years on and off. So I've traveled a lot. I know what exists. I traveled during a really prime time in the travel industry. I know what technologies are used, what innovations came about, what became popular, what travelers wanted. You know, I've been exposed to it all, but I also knew what I didn't like and didn't want to do, even though I was very knowledgeable about travel. I knew that I didn't want to be a flight attendant. I actually have a fear of flying. If you didn't hear that in one of the last episodes of my fun facts, I think episode 3 or something, take a listen. But I didn't want to be a travel writer or blogger. Yes, I had a blog, never monetized it, but on purpose. Because I don't really enjoy writing very much. I'm not very good at it. I didn't want to be a travel influencer. I'll do a whole nother podcast episode on that and, you know, where I stand with that industry. But that wasn't my thing. Sitting there taking pretty pictures to give a false perspective of what a place looks like, because trust me, I've seen photos and I've been to the reality of it. Not really the same. And that's really not my goal, is trying to get brands to give me a free stay somewhere. I can afford it myself, and I'd rather have a lot more purpose behind what I'm doing. Again, nothing wrong with that industry. If that's what you want to do your thing. But with the industry telling you of all these things you can do, they also were putting boxes around what they're saying is not really possible. There's no really other options for you. But I knew that wasn't the truth. Like I said, travel is so personal. Everyone travels for a different reason. Everyone knows something different about travel. We love helping people when it comes to travel in different ways. And I knew that I wasn't going to be the only one who felt this way. I believe that there must be something more to a travel career than just booking trips or blogging about it. And as we can see, that's not the case anymore, that there is so much more that can be done, especially after the past few years when topics like self-care, wellness, sustainability, regenerative tourism, remote work, digital nomad, the problem in people going back to the workplace with this great resignation happening. People found new values in life. They value their time differently. RV travel, family travel, all of this has shifted. There's a lot more meaning and purpose to why people travel. That shows that there are more possibilities and opportunities for people out there who are travel experts or love travel. The travel agent industry played a big role in creating many of the stigmas that exist around travel. There, I said it, but some of these examples I can give you, and I'll explain a few of them here, are things like, and you've probably heard it as well, that travel is too expensive. Traveling is complicated. Traveling is unsafe if you plan it on your own. Any travel business that promotes online must be a MLM or a scam or a pyramid scheme of some sort. And host agencies really don't care about you too. So diving first into this, one of these I'll talk about first, which is that traveling is too expensive. I remember when I was just a traveler, I would come back home to my hometown and I would work one of my jobs that was flexible, and they knew I would just come into town when I wanted to. It was a sales job. And I was working, and one of my coworkers they always want to hear about my travels. They always love to hear about where I went, but they're a bit older than me. So they would always be like, oh, that's so unsafe. Or how do you do this? Or aren't you scared? Aren't you worried? All that stuff you probably heard yourself too. But I remember one of my coworkers, she's an older lady, and she said to me, Sahara, you don't want to know how much I just spent for 2 weeks in Italy working with a travel agent on this vacation they just went on. And I was like, oh my God, what? She finally said it to me, and she told me that they spent $20,000 for 2 weeks in Italy, and they went to about 4 or 5 different cities. It was her and her husband. So again, they're an older couple, and they did want, I remember she told me they did want like 4-star hotels. And also he had a walking disability. So they needed a private shuttle. So I get it. I get that there are certain luxuries or needs that you need in order to have this type of experience, or in order to have an experience of some sort. But I nearly died when she told me that. Because I remember I would backpack for 6 months and spend about 10 grand. Granted, yes, I know that the standards of how I was traveling was not up to par for many people, or it wasn't deemed a luxury, which I beg to differ, because there are some really great places around this world that I see for pretty darn cheap. And I mean a few bucks that people don't really know about. But to each their own of what you define as luxury and a great experience. But I thought 20,000 was a bit much. And not only was the price something she was scared to tell me, but she worked with an agent in a local town, and she was like, oh my God, not only was the money, was it expensive, and I don't think the money would have been a thing if the whole trip went totally fine. But she said that, there was constantly issues with their flights, with their bookings, with their hotels, and their agent was not cooperative. So she had to be the middleman between the agent and the airline, and it got more charges on stuff. And then to make things worse, after she returned, she continued to get charges on her account, her credit card, from the agent who was booking other people's travels and charging her for add-ons. She also felt very pressured to add on all these different things too. And so the price went up. And I know this is not the case for everyone, obviously, but it could feed into the fact that travel is too expensive, or that travel is something you can only do once a year or twice a year because it takes a big bite out of your budget. But it's just stories, and this isn't an isolated story. I've heard several horror stories. But and again, I'm not trying to shun the travel agent industry, but it blows my mind that it's an industry so passionate about travel that has fed into a lot of these misconceptions about travel, that it's unsafe, that it's expensive and stuff like that, when we should really be encouraging people to travel and helping in a way that, you know, makes their life easier and affordable and accessible and everything like that too. And the travel agent industry has also helped craft the idea that travel is a luxury and an experience, like I said, some people can do once or twice a year. This stems from the fact that it can take a big bite out of someone's budget. When people turn to travel experts to take full control over their trips, they tend to get options of all these different add-ons. Like I was mentioning, she told me that agents also make commission off of. So here, let's upsell, and you've probably heard that a lot. There's also the mentality that travel is far too complicated to do on your own without an expert, or leads to an unsafe experience. That travel agents will make sure that going to a 5-star hotel or 4-star or an all-inclusive or a cruise is the best way to go because it's safe. And that gives the mentality that the world's unsafe. If we're promoting travel, why promote that it's unsafe too? Because we know it's not. Staying in all-inclusive resorts, going on organized tours, having private drivers, and staying in a fancy hotel with 5-star dining is the smartest way to travel. Because why? The world is that unsafe? I don't think so. And if you do believe that, then you're in the wrong industry. If you believe that travel is beneficial to people's well-being and lifestyles, shouldn't you be embracing the mentality that aspects of travel, like living, are the best ways to get the transformative and meaningful travel experiences that people are craving in the first place? The travel agent industry has contributed to the implication that all travel-related businesses or promotions must also be MLM, multi-level marketing, or trying to recruit people. I can't tell you how often I see this or hear people assume that someone who runs a travel business is trying to do this. I get it all the time. People who want to travel the world and get paid for it. And anytime you post anything about a travel career opportunity, it must be MLM. But why is that? Why would that be? Well, you know, it stems from the travel agent industry that base their models off of recruiting and team building versus actually selling the travel experiences. And that's where the form of the pyramid comes into play. It's the same business model. And I know a lot of people who do this, and that's your thing. If that's what you want to do, and the people that you recruit are loving it, then fine, do your thing. But it puts a bad taste in people's mouth and any other sort of business owner in the travel space, because the assumption is there. I can tell you how many times I've posted about the travel coach certification program in a Facebook group about travel, and the people are like, it's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's MLM. What are you talking about? I run a certification program for coaches to learn how to build a business. I give my time mentoring and talking to and do trainings and teach them how to market and all this stuff. I'm not recruiting people to recruit other people. So yeah, maybe I have a bit of, you know, a personal grudge with the industry that talks about this, but it really doesn't even matter if it's travel. The MLM industry has really taken over social media when it comes to the beauty industry as well, wellness industry and everything too. So it's not an isolated industry. And lastly, when I say that host agencies don't really care about you, what I mean is their main goal is to grow a successful team of agents that book a lot of high ticket trips so that they can make money. Oh yeah, and they do want you to make commission as well. Obviously, they want to keep you happy so you stay there. But the main goal is to sell, sell, sell. And maybe you're someone who is related to this. I've heard many travel advisors, travel agents come into the network who are like, well, I thought I wanted to be a travel agent or advisor because I really love travel and I wanted to help people with travel and somehow. And I felt like that was the only way, but it didn't align with my values and it didn't align with what I thought it was going to be. That's why, like, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a travel agent or travel advisor, whatever you want to call yourselves these days. It doesn't even matter. I don't even care if my travel coaches call themselves travel coaches. Titles don't matter. It's the service. It's what you provide. And it's how you help people. But just be more, the industry should be more transparent with what the intentions actually are. And it drives me crazy because it's an industry promoting, we want to help provide you with a great experience, change your life, live the life of your dreams, go on your dream trip and all this stuff. But there's all these little gray and dark spaces within it, and it just doesn't sit well. And that leads me into why traveling agents need to step up their game. Because remember, people can book trips on their own. And I know you probably hear this quite a bit. You're like, yeah, but it's not the same. You know, people can book trips on their own. They can read blogs. They can use their own systems, but it's not the same. I have discounts. I have this ability. I have these connections. I have these perks or whatever it might be. Great. That's great. I get perks from my travel agent friends. I love it. I understand that. But I still need you to step up your game when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to your services, when it comes to your branding, when it comes to your values. That's what I mean. You need to step it up. Remember, historically, travel agents stem from the lack of any other way for people to plan and book trips far before the internet. But now there are more resources, blogs, apps, technology, and sharing communities than ever before, and they continue to multiply by the day. People can plan and book their own trips for less money and an easier process, less of a headache, and anything that goes wrong, it's their fault, not dealing with someone else's mess. Remember, the pandemic amplified people's desire to travel far and more often, meaning that they will need to make their dollars stretch. So if they're going to hire a travel professional, it better be for a really good reason. People want to travel longer, more often, further than ever before. So how can we make it accessible and affordable? And I want you also to stop pigeonholing your clients. If you wanted to sell travel, you had to find your niche before. That meant that you had to decide if you wanted to sell a certain brand like Disney or sandals, or you sold only luxury trips or group trips or family travel or to a certain demographic and so on and so on. That mentality around selling travel is so old school. It's implying that only a certain demographic or a type of person would be interested in a specific type of experience. But we all know that that isn't the case. You cannot group people together and assume that they are within the same demographics, income level, age, travel style determines their overall outcome, feelings, or transformations that they are in need of or in search of on a trip. You can't. Everyone's going to look different. If you have a whole group of people and you said of different backgrounds, races, religions, lifestyles, income levels, genders, everything, and you said, who here likes to go off the beaten path? They like to sit under the stars on a dark, deserted island in a lesser known place where you just came from a spiritual journey and you're looking at the stars. You've never seen more stars in your life, and you're connecting with people that you share a new bond with. That's a really transformative experience. And I guarantee those people who raise their hands are not going to be all men, all women, all the same income level, all the same gender or age or whatever it might be. They're all going to look different because what they're looking for is a feeling, an outcome, a transformation. That's how you should be selecting your quote unquote niche or your area of expertise. It's based on the pain points of your clients. But the travel industry doesn't tell you that, you're not selling experiences. The problem is that the mentality around selling travel is so old school. And like I said, it's not experiences that you're selling. You're selling an outcome, a transformation, a solution, a feeling, a change. That is why people truly want to get away. They're seeking something. It's up to you as a travel expert to help them reach their transformation or feeling based on the types of experiences that they need to have during their trip. But the travel industry isn't going to tell you this. It wants you to sell, book, book, book. I also want you to stop taking full control over working with your clients. I get that travel agents are a great option for travelers to be able to have travel safely around COVID-related restrictions, regulations, and information. I also understand that a goal for many travel agents is to provide a seamless travel experience for people, which entails them taking full control over the planning and booking process. But actually, there's a lot of research out there that talks about how the planning phase of a trip can help boost the overall experience and an emotional level. I read that the anticipation can increase happiness and emotional equilibrium. Planning is an easy way to dramatically boost personal happiness. Planners are happier than non-planners in personal relationships, their job, their company, physical health and well-being, and happier with how they spend their time off. A study published in the journal Applied Research and Quality of Life showed that the highest spike in happiness came during the planning stage of a vacation. So why are we not talking about this and helping our clients, our travelers have this emotional enlightenment that we're trying to provide them with travel anyways? Get them involved in the planning phase. And there's different ways to do that. So what should you be doing then? Like I said before, there is nothing wrong with being a travel agent or a travel advisor or a travel curator or travel designer or any other title that focuses solely on planning and booking trips. But I'd highly recommend that if you want to succeed in your travel business and struggle less, attract clients versus chase them, stand out in an overly saturated industry, and have a business that aligns with your heart and soul, you should be changing your mindset and breaking down the boxes that the travel agent industry constructed for so long. It's a new day and age. Travel has changed and people have changed. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Travel Coach Network. Learn more at the travelcoachnetwork.com and come give us a hello. We look forward to having you in our Travel Coach Network global community. Hopefully having you on our podcast one day. You can find out more about our free Travel Coach Network global community on Facebook in the show notes in the link. And every episode, you can also find and download your own free beginner's guide to travel coaching there in the show notes. If you know anyone who may be interested in travel coaching, be sure to share our podcast with them. We truly appreciate it. At the end of every episode, I will be sharing one fun fact about me, and I want you to come into the TCN Facebook community and tell me if you can relate or have a similar fact about yourself. So this episode, my fun fact is that I'm an Aquarius. I was born in January, at the end of January, and I always thought that when I traveled and I was naturally gravitating towards bodies of water, I thought it was just because it was so calming or that I was an Aquarius, but it turns out that there's a lot of science behind blue spaces as well. So the attraction of people to bodies of water, ocean, seaside, ponds, lakes, streams, and how that can help boost our mental well-being as well. So I was blamed on being an Aquarius. So let me know what sign you are and when your birthday is. And I want to thank you again for listening to the podcast. And until next time, my fellow wanderers, bye for now.